focus on the defense theme. Bharat Dynamics is one such stock that's seen a big run in the last 12 to around 18 months or so. Some of these defense-related names did come in for profit-taking post the election verdict, but they have bounced back. Valuations are not very supportive as well. But to understand how Bharat Dynamics is shaping up and what's the outlook from here on, we're joined by Mr. A Madhavarao, the Chairman and Managing Director of the company. Good morning, Mr. Madhavarao. Thanks a lot for joining in. Well, a quick comment first up. We have a coalition government and some fears are that maybe, in fact, the kind of push that we saw to defense may not see the same in a coalition government. Your quick comment before we get to focus on the business itself.
Good morning and thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you. Yes, the coalition government is a reality, but I don't see any great impact on the momentum on the defense procurements and the investment in defense.
Got that? So that's out of the way. You believe things will continue and the focus on defense and the impetus that we've seen will continue. Got that. Mr. Madhavarao, let's focus on execution then. Towards the second half, I think, of FY24, there were some supply side issues. And that's why there wasn't that revenue growth that you were talking about didn't come about. So have the supply side issues got sorted off to some extent? And also, what can you guide us from here on? What's the revenue growth? What's the margins that we should be working with for FY25?
So for FY25, like you said, we had brought out that in the last 2 quarters of 24, we had issues on the supply chain part, which had affected our targeted sales. But however, we have done a lot of mitigation of that, and the global situation also has improved. And I see a lot of improvement, and we have started. Production has picked up. In fact, our production margins have improved Q4 of 24, and that momentum continues. What I can see, conversion of that into revenue will happen from the second quarter of this financial year. And that is going to be substantial, I would say.
Okay,
so
give us a number.
Quantify that, because I mean, in the previous financial year, because of these issues, the overall full year top line was actually down. It fell by about 5%. So now that you're saying that some of this will be resolved second quarter onwards, full year basis, what's the kind of top line growth we can expect?
I see about 20 to 30% of top line growth over the full financial year, I'd say, and the major part will start kicking in with the second quarter of this year.
Okay, so 20 to 25% top line growth. And on margins, sir, so the interesting part was that FY24, while your revenue was a little stagnant, margin profile really expanded. I think your year-end margin rate was almost touching 22, 23%. Is this sustainable?
Yeah, largely in our case, the margin is dependent on the product profile that you do in that financial year. So I would say that this year also the normal margin rates would be about 15 to 20% with respect to Bharat Dynamics, the EBITDA margins. And this year we will continue to have around 20%.
Okay, so I mean, good morning, sir. Prashant here. So you basically, FY23 margins were about 16%. So you're saying that in 25, you'll go back to, as you say, between 15-20%, right? More normalized kind of margins.
20%, I would say.
Closer to 20%. Got that. The other thing is order book, right? I think if I look at order book as at the end of March 24 as opposed to March 23, order book was 19,500 as opposed to 21,900 crores. So it's actually about 10-11% lower, 24 over 23. Could you tell us what are your expectations for 25 in terms of order bookings?
In the case of defense, I think it's better to look at a 3-year block here rather than a year-on-year with respect to order books, because the execution timelines are at 3 to 5 years, and the orders which we get are in a cycle of 3-year cycle approximately. So what I would say is, if you've seen the order book position on 1st of April 24, it is about 19,500, and in the next 2 to 3 years, again, I see that we would pick up on the order books of about 20,000 crores cumulatively. So on the average,
you taken fresh 20,000. You expect to take in fresh 20,000 crores in orders over the next 2 to 3 years.
Yes, the current order book, what we have is for about the execution will be about 4 to 5 years. So an overlap of that and cumulative this one by another 3 years would be again 20,000 crores.
Got it, sir. So, that's on the ordering activity side. Can you just tell us what will be the order profile, just to understand? I mean, I believe the NAG, anti-tank systems, there has been a request for proposals over there. Then there is this air-to-air missile, the Astra missile. So just give us an idea about what will be the profile of your order book, and then margins, because you said, margins depend. In whichever quarter you're doing higher margin orders, the profile increases. So just tell us which are the higher margin categories for you, and what are you hoping to get in the bag this year in terms of orders? What kind of orders?
See, primarily what you said about NAG, we are very bullish on the order coming very soon. We are in the RFP stage. So any which way, from the defense stocks, it is not very good to talk about the products itself. I would not try to emphasize on which product, etc. But in general, we have the anti-tank guided missiles, the surface-to-air missiles, and the air-to-air missiles in three broad categories. I see that we are going to have an equal share of these in this year. So therefore, the expectation of our revenue and the profits of that would be quite stable in this year. It will be normalized because in one of the cases where, say in the SAM case, the margins are lesser, while the others, the margins are better. And on the, like you said, on the Astra and thus, there are expected orders. We're looking at a substantial order book rise in this year. But like I said, on the average of the 3-year block, this 20,000 crores is likely to be sustained.
Right. Got that. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure. So 20-25% growth in revenues this year, margin closer to 20%, and another fresh 20,000 crores of orders in the next 2 to 3 years. That's essentially, the forward-looking guidance coming in from Bharat Dynamics. We'll